no, you know, it's hard for me to hear you when you're saying you need to do such and such, or you have to give me this. And maybe if you said it this way, I could hear it better, and I'd be more willing to help you. Even though I'll help you anyway, but I'd be more happy about it if you said, I really need help, or whatever.
I don't care how you feel.
Okay, other ones? Yes?
Folks that are critical of what you have available.
Oh, folks that are critical of what you have available. You mean saying, why don't you have non-gluten?
You don't have any brand name peanut butter?
Brand name? I want brand name peanut butter.
My kids won't eat that cereal.
Different label.
We tried.
Anything else?
Yeah, right, no GMOs.
People blame you for things.
Being blamed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. So what happens in you when somebody blames you?
They blame me. I know if I'm right and it's actually kind of wrong. So you shouldn't blame nobody. You don't know what you really talking about.
And where do you feel it in your body when somebody blames you and you know they're wrong?
Stomach.
In your stomach. Yeah, me too. It like sort of in my midsection.
Yeah.
And then does it kind of rise up and you kind of get red or hot? Yeah. Anybody else? Where do you feel it when you're, I'll get to you in 1 sec. Where do you guys feel it when you're triggered? Yeah.
I feel like the heat goes right up my body.
Right your ears.
Right in my ears. My ears are really red. I have more hair than you, so.
Yeah.
It feels like it's my
And then you had, oh, go ahead, somebody else.
Your heart starts pounding.
Mhm.
Tension.
And your breath.
When you're passionate about your work, it hurts even more.
Yes.
Yep.
And remember that slide we showed the anger at top and down below where the feelings, and hurt was one of the feelings. So we all have that happen to us. So you feel hurt because you're working so hard and care so much, and they're blaming you, and you feel angry, you know. So, okay, you had something.
You know, there's domestic violence in a soup kitchen situation too. We deal with people that come in, whether they are boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, and they come in and they're very confrontational to one another, and they disrupt the people that are coming in just to get a decent meal, and you're upset because you don't want him smacking her around, and you're upset because you're trying to give these people the best situation you can. You've prepared them a good meal, and they deserve some respect to be able to sit there. So it's really kind of hard, because if you verbalize to this person, they get very confrontational to you, and then people try to stick up for you, and then it really causes a situation.
Yes. Oh, that must be really hard. Anybody else?
mental health issues.
Can you elaborate? She said mental health issues.
Well, there are a couple of different things. One is that it's really hard sometimes to provide a safe environment when someone comes in without a social worker who has a social or mental health issue. And sometimes they can't control their language, they can't control their body, and without a social worker to kind of walk through with them, you really don't have a choice. Like, it's scary, and it creates a little bit of anger because it's like, you know you can't come in here without a social worker.
Yeah.
Now I have to empty everyone else out of this food shelf to allow you to come in when you know what you need to do. So it raises the level and the anxiety of everyone around you. And it's just, and then at the same time, you do have that empathy. Like, they can't control that, and they can't control that, but still there are situations that need to be dealt with kind of differently. And how do you provide safety for your other clients in the same sort of issue? How do you provide that same sort of safety?
Right.
If I know this person is going to come in and possibly throw cans around the food shelf, and I can't have small people in there. Like, I have to make sure that everyone else is gone because she, doesn't have a worker with her today. So there's a good chance that somebody's going to get a can thrown at them. And I can't not provide her that service.
So what you two are talking about are really organizational issues. Those aren't going to be situations where you need to defuse yourselves. I mean, obviously you're gonna be aware of how it makes you feel, but it also might be something to be strategic about in terms of planning. So if you can do some planning about, and you probably have done this already, but organizationally and systems-wide about what a protocol to do when that happens. You've probably already thought about it, so we won't get into that right now, but I think that would imply that there are systems issues that you need to work out so that you can all stay safe and your other.
Right, but it's not always that extreme.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you're just having a really bad day and you go off the hook. And so you're in a place where you're dealing with someone who just yesterday came in and they were completely fine. And today they're so unstable that they're going to reach out and grab someone that you're working next to. And you have to diffuse that situation automatically.
Yes.
So it goes both ways.
Okay.
I mean, there are the extreme, but there are also the mental health issues of, I'd say half of my clients. Half the people who come in have some sort of mental issue, and that's why they're utilizing us, because they can come in every day and get free food.
And attention.
And attention.
Yes. Anything else before we move forward? Thank you very much. Yes.
Now, actually, we have so many volunteers at our food shop that each person doesn't know the individual person that comes in. And in other words, you're saying we should keep a record, say, on their card, say, note, they may be upset when they come in, or they may take too much food. Is that our right to do? We have to pass that information on to another volunteer.
I'd rather, I feel that uncomfortable with that, because
Yeah,
then
I
you're
would
sort of
too.
putting it down on paper and you're
Yeah.
labeling people.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
Yeah, so I wouldn't do that. I think we all, everybody just needs to learn how to dance in the moment with what's going on. And what's your name? Kristen, as Kristen was sort of saying, because you just never know what's going to happen.
True, yeah.
Someone who's never had a problem, so it wouldn't be on their card, might come in someday and really have a problem. So, yes.
Bouncing off of that, I guess, what do you do when someone is so unpredictable, though?
Yes. Why don't we wait on that, okay? Because we're going to get into some skills, and then we're going to talk about some other things. So can we put that in? So what we're really talking about here, folks, is emotional intelligence. We're talking about you having the soft skills for dealing with any situation, pretty much any situation. So it's really a key characteristic of leaders, and you are all leaders in one way or another in your lives and in your work, whether it's in your family or in your workplace. So, and self-awareness is one of the elements of emotional intelligence, and that's what we were just talking about and what you were just working on. Self-regulation is another one. It's important, once we know that we're triggered, to slow ourselves down. Don't be reactive. Don't blow up at somebody, but do some breathing. And also using self-talk. So before I get into self-talk, I'd like to have you do a breathing exercise. And I'm calling it the 4-7-8 breath. So if you put both feet on the floor and just either close your eyes or just soften your gaze and stare at something that's within your gaze. I'm going to have you breathe into the count of 4. Hold it to the count of 7, and then breathe out to the count of 8. And we'll do 4 of those, okay? So I'm not going to count for you except the first time. So, and I also wanted to tell you that this is diaphragmatic breathing. So somebody mentioned that their breath gets short when they get triggered and angry. And that's stress breathing. Shortness of breath is like coming from here and up, from your lungs and up. But the relaxing breath is all the way down. You fill your lungs, so your belly actually goes out. That's the diaphragm goes out on the in-breath and in, back towards your spine on the out-breath. This is actually medically proven to be useful to you and for your health. So it can actually improve your long-term health outcomes if you do this kind of breathing every day. And when you're stressed, start being aware. Oh, take a breath. Just, we all hear this. Breathe, But we're also numb to hearing that. But if we can start practicing it, it will really help us. So anyway, let's start doing that. So breathe into the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7, 2, 3, 4. If you can do it. 6, 7. Out to 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm just going to let you do it. You get the idea. So when the out breath is twice as long as the in breath, and that forces the next in breath to the count of 4. Just keep your mind on your breath. When your mind wanders to other things, bring it back to the breath. Just think about the breath. Notice your belly going out and in. Drop your shoulders, let them relax. Notice about that.
Everybody's chill.
Everybody's chill. It slows your heart rate down. Like, I try to trick the doctor when I go in now when they're going to do my blood pressure. I sit there and I do that kind of breathing. You would not believe how low I can get my blood pressure. Although I already have, just biologically low blood pressure, but you can actually get it to go down. It will slow your heart rate. So that's one of your really key secret weapons there. A tool, yes.
My question is a little bit about the pause, the seven count pause.
Okay.
Because that's somewhat new to me. And could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's just a way of aerating things and holding and. I'm not exactly sure biologically what that does for you. And you don't have to do it. So...
You get more oxygen into your bloodstream.
I think it is. Does somebody know that? Okay. Oh, are you an EMT?
No.
Okay.
My son was born with heart problems, so...
Okay, so you know.
He
That's
was not
what I
supposed
thought.
to get upset when he was a baby.
Yeah. So holding it at that holding it in that in breath, you've got all that oxygen inside, and it's, I guess, letting it bathe the cells for a while. And then the out breath, yes. So either or. I just think if you think about breathing and you do a deep breath, it's going to help you right away. Okay, and then the self-talk is things like, I can do this, I can get through this. This is just one moment in time. Okay, I can get through this. And I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to take the bait. So using empowering self-talk. And sometimes if you are having kind of issues with feeling crummy about yourself or low self-worth, kind of a fun, good exercise is to do that in the mirror in the morning. Saying, I'm worthy, I have skills, I'm a good person. Yes?
I learned somewhere along the line that if you use your name, that it helps your brain get that message
Neat.
More.
Great. She was saying if you use your name when you're doing the self-talk, it can really help your brain get the message even more.
And that power stance.
Empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is sort of a one down, like you have it all and they don't, and you feel sorry for them. This is what I'm asking you to do, is to have empathy and really think of them as a fellow human being who is having a really bad situation, in a bad situation. It's just a little tweak on our perception. So And showing that you can imagine how they feel, or even just saying, I can imagine how you feel, I haven't experienced that, but I can imagine. That can really go a long way to helping somebody de-escalate. But we're going to get into that more. And using your social skills, your soft skills, things like active listening, acknowledging, and I'll get into that more too. So that's what emotional intelligence is, all those 4 things. Oh, I forgot to tell you, so, you know, everybody thinks of IQ as you know, the test scores. Oh, it's 140, or it's 120, or it's 80. That is so little of what intelligence is. And Daniel Goleman did a huge amount of work on emotional intelligence. And so this shows that EQ, emotional intelligence, is more important, actually, than IQ. And I bet you can imagine some people who probably are developmentally delayed, or maybe have Down syndrome, or might, you know, have some sort of disability where they don't have a high IQ probably, but they're so great with people. You know, think about it. So emotional intelligence gets us much farther in life than IQ. It can help us be much more successful. Okay, so what is stress? It's really the sense of having little or no control. And it can happen, it does happen when the demand on us exceeds our perception of our ability to cope. So the guy over there is actually in serious danger. He can't outrun the bear. He's got a really good reason to be in the stress response. He's in the fight or flight. He's trying to get away. She's in the same stress response, but her life isn't in danger. But she's feeling the same thing. So I just wanted to point that out because our brain throws us into the fight or flight with all sorts of things. It might be stuck in traffic, or it might be running from a bear or a mugger, you know, so it can be either life-threatening or not. Back when the cavemen were in existence, they had every reason to be thrown into the stress response to get away from that saber-toothed tiger. These days, we still are thrown into it because we still have the same physiology, and we need to know how to get out of it so that we can be healthy. And that breath that we just did, and that self-talk and all that, is really what can help us get out of the stress response when we're in it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the brain right now. So the prefrontal cortex is the CEO of our brain. That's where we do all our thinking and our analytical work, where we plan and we're strategic. The amygdala is our survival center. This is what perceives danger in our environment. And so when you're triggered by those things that get you either angry or afraid, your amygdala is actually in action trying to protect you. And it's sending messages to your hypothalamus, which is the control center and which sends out all the stress hormones. So all of this happens really fast. If you sense danger, like the girl on the test, I'm going to flunk this test, or the guy running from the bear, they go into the stress response immediately, and it's fight or flight. And their prefrontal cortex pretty much shuts down. It bypasses. So all the stress hormones bypass the prefrontal cortex. They get your body activated, your heart rate gets up, you get ready. You could fight someone or you could run away much faster than if you weren't in the stress response. And you aren't going to be making great decisions at that point. And this all happens in a split second. I just talked to a farmer actually who was, because our employee assistance program serves all the farmers in Vermont too, and this farmer was attacked by an Angus cow, you know, those huge black Angus, shoved down on the ground and headbutted. His body was so broken up. He had 5 broken ribs, lost his shoulder, all sorts of things. And I asked him, I was kind of debriefing him. I said, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind when that happened? He said, I didn't have time to think. And I said, you were in the stress response. So that's a big example of where you don't even think. You don't think. You just are getting away, fight or flight. The weird thing is, in today's age, we are thrown into the stress response from social cues or things like that might not actually be real danger, but they could be. And in your work, you've got to just be aware of that, because your clients are in there feeling food insecure or mental health issues. They might be perceiving that you're being really mean to them or whatever, and they go into this. And it can really be it can create some out of control behavior, right? So stress makes us stupid. Daniel Goleman said that, and that's because of that prefrontal cortex shutting down. See, she's like trying to cope with stress, and actually her hand automatically goes up there. It's kind of interesting. So it really can work against us when we need to think clearly. So I want you all to be aware of when you're in your stress response, but also be aware when your clients are. And when they're acting out, they're often in the stress response. Unless they have some other mental health issue where they're, but when they're really angry and blowing up, they're often in the stress response. So this older woman is in the stress response, and as workers, we want to try to tap back into their prefrontal cortex. So think about that. They're both being triggered by their amygdala, and they're in the fight or flight. She's feeling like, I need my food right now, or I'm going to starve, or whatever, And so we want to tap back into her cognitive mode. So don't say anything about feelings, because that'll encourage her to stay in her feelings. I don't need to tell you to be mean, but instead you're going to want to sort of say, help me understand what you're saying to me. So you're going to ask like thinking questions, okay, so that you can help her switch out of that stress response back into her thinking head, her thinking brain. Does that make sense? And you can use this in your personal life too, with your partner or your kids. Just don't tell them what you're doing. So there's so much to say about self-regulation. I mean, it's just a lifetime of work, really, isn't it? And you're going to get all these slides, and you can think about it and practice these things. So people can't really attack you while they're teaching you what they want you to know. Okay? So you've got someone in the food shelf. We're going to do a few role plays up in front for you. But you've got somebody who's really attacking you, like, you don't care about me. You want my kids to starve, blah, blah, blah. And so you might be, instead of reacting to that, think about what's underneath that and go for that, but not for the feeling part, but saying, so tell me what you want me to know about your situation, so I can see if I can help you figure out a solution. So the good news is we can disable our stress response and shift back to using our prefrontal cortex by self-regulating with diaphragmatic breathing, which we've just talked about. So see how big his stomach gets on the inhale? And on the exhale, it goes back towards his spine. When I first tried to learn that, it was so counterintuitive, because usually it felt like the opposite. But the more you practice it, the more you can do it. And then positive self-talk. Here's some examples. I can do this. I have what it takes. I'm going to get through this successfully without hurting that other person. And I'll give these skills a try. So that's the brain part of the stress response. Does anybody have any questions or pointers or awarenesses about that? And then we all know about body language, so we don't want to be standing there with our arms crossed when somebody's yelling at us. I mean, you might want to. But it conveys to the other person that you are shut down and you're not listening. And so if somebody, so we do want to convey an open body stance like this. And convey openness and warmth. Keep a respectful distance. And somebody said they don't like people being too close or in their face. Keep your eye movements sort of balanced between eye contact and a little down and up, depending on the culture of the person. And you probably have some people of different cultures and refugees coming in, and probably know the nuances of eye gazing in those cultures, and I'm not an expert on that, but be aware of your eye movements. And your facial expressions show friendliness. And then the body posture. This is an interesting thing. You kind of want to shuffle to the side, so you don't want to have somebody, if you're having someone being confrontational with you, do the little side shuffle, so that the stand-up shuffle. Turn it into more of a cooperative stance, so that you're a little bit aligned with them. It's symbolic for them. It makes them feel as if you're on their side more. Because if you're right across from them and they're yelling at you and you're looking angry, they're feeling as if you're the one with power. They're going to give you all they got. But if you kind of shift over here, it can help you feel a little more aligned, and they feel more aligned. So that, yeah, I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to try to understand what you need, and I'm going to try to help you get what you need given our regulations or whatever. So it's just a little bit of a side stance. Don't ever turn your back on somebody. Okay? Not safe. And also it gives them the idea that you're walking away, you're scared, you're dismissive. Remember, perception is everything. You don't want them to feel that you're being disrespectful or dismissing them. Yes?
I also know, because I work in a situation where it's calls coming in, we're not dealing with people directly.
Yeah.
But people can feel those kinds of postures over the telephone with your voice.
You're so right. We're going to do one slide on telephone. Yeah. So she was just saying on telephone calls, people can actually feel these vibes over the phone. And so those of you who do work on phones, and I do a lot, there's so much you can refine in your skills on the phone. It's really interesting. So here are the 3 most common nonverbal intimidation tactics. I know we've all had them. Prolonged eye contact, invasion of personal space, and use of height differences. And the best response options are cooperative stance, shuffle to the side, subtle change in height difference. So if you're sitting and the other person's standing, stand right up, you know. And distraction, like just saying, oh, you know, by the way, let me just go check on something. I think I have something in the back there that I need to get, or something like that. Just like breaking that up a little bit, or saying hi to somebody who walks in. You know, just a little distraction, so that you break up that confrontation. So now we're at the acknowledgement phase of CARP, and oh my goodness. So people have to be acknowledged before they're ready to problem solve, okay? Escalation decreases when we feel understood. And in the Chinese language, the word for listening is ting, and it could just be this, because this is to hear, this symbol is to hear. But instead, in China, they have a very holistic way of listening. So this means to be present. This is to see the person with your eyes visually. This line means to pay attention. And this is the heart symbol. And this is the hear symbol, and then this is the think symbol. So it's all one, just in the word listen. And in active listening, the key defusing strategy, you're going to give the person eye contact and involve your heart, you know, care about what's going on with them, even if you've seen them every day for the last 40 days and you know the whole story. Try to involve your heart, because that will be conveyed, and it's the first step to helping defuse any situation that might come up. Stay with them. Don't start looking around the room and getting distracted. Test your understanding, saying, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Okay? Don't assume you understand, because they will argue with that. Don't say, I know you're angry. Say, let me check. I want to understand what you're saying. It sounds so, and then you're going to paraphrase back to them using pretty much their words. Like, they might have said, I'm pissed off, such and such. So it sounds as if you're pissed off that such and such, because if you say a different word, they're gonna fight with you over it. Empathize, and try not to give advice, because that can really, people who are escalated don't want advice. They want to know that you heard what they said, okay? And then to give empathy phrases, to say something empathic to somebody, doesn't mean you're agreeing with them. And this is really important. This is good in your relationships at home, too. You don't have to agree with them to let you know you understand what they're saying, okay? So you can say, I can hear how upset you are. Somebody's going to feel, a little bit calmer, I think, if they hear that. You were looking forward to picking up your food today. Just a statement that shows you understand. Maybe this isn't the day, I don't know how it works, but maybe this isn't the day they get to pick up their food. So, and they're really upset. So just say that so that they know you're on the same page. You're afraid your ride will forget and you'll be stuck here. Maybe somebody's really agitated and they're trying to use the phone, So you can calm people down by saying these things, okay? Doesn't mean you're agreeing with their behavior. You feel as if we're ignoring you, and that makes you angry, or that makes you feel pissed off, or whatever they had said. I'd like to help you if I can, and I get how important this is to you. I really get it. People want to be gotten, they want you to meet them where they are. That doesn't mean you have to agree. And then, of course, we want to avoid fire starters. And that's whatever. All those kind of no, in my work in the Employee Assistance Program, we try never to say the word no to our businesses. It's always yes, and we can do this, and this is how it would look. And, so you try never to say no. And all of those things would trigger somebody and make it worse, of course. You don't want to do that. So let's see, I don't know. I guess we have time for maybe one example. So if somebody could come up and be that person, that client, I could try to use some of these skills. Does anyone want to be a volunteer?
The option to be nasty.
Yeah, this is your chance to be really nasty. We only have 10 more minutes, so if we don't do this, it's okay.
I'll do it if nobody else wants.
Okay, come on up. We've
Not
got
sure.
Do you have a scenario?
No. They get it up as I go.
Okay.
Can somebody give me a scenario? No. Okay.
Okay.
I'm a walk-in.
Okay.
I'm homeless. I have 2 kids in the car. I haven't had breakfast.
I know one we did a lot is they're only allowed so much, to come in so often. And we get a couple of clients that are constantly trying to push that envelope. And we have to say no.
I see.
And ensues.
This is hard for me because I'm really good at getting the things I want. I get pushed out in front of people to okay, kill them with kindness and get what you want. So okay, I'll try this. Hold on.
Do your breathing.
No, I gotta whip myself
No, I have to do her breathing. She has to whip herself up. So I have to actually make sure she doesn't come use the service today.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've already had your
Maybe
3.
you should come and do it.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should.
Come up and do it
Why
with
don't you
me.
be my sister?
There you go.
Why don't you do it? Okay. That's your sister? No. Okay, you be the worker, but I'm gonna be on your shoulder helping, okay? Okay.
So, where's my food?
Good morning, Erin. How are you today?
I'm not good.
Well, what can I help you with?
I need my food today.
And you were in yesterday, and our policy has been in.
You tell me that every time I come in, Becky. I don't like it. I've got 2 kids in the car, and I gotta give them food before they go to school, and you have no idea how hungry they are. What would you do if it was your kids?
Well, Anna, how are your daughters today?
They're hungry.
I understand that. What do you think they might like to eat today?
juice.
Juice, anything else?
Bagels.
Bagel, we don't have any bagels.
No bagels?
Not today, but, you know
I
what?
want bagels.
If you come in next week, Anna, I'm sure we'll have some bagels.
Next week is like a century away. It's a century away. You know,
I could
That
help you make,
feels like a long time.
Anna, you know what, I can help you make some calls and maybe we can find some bagels.
do you have a phone?
Yes, we do.
Can I use it right now?
Absolutely.
I gotta call my boyfriend because if I don't come back with food for the kids, he's gonna beat me.
Well, Anna, you know what, why don't we make some calls first and try and get you that food so he's not as angry.
Can I bring my kids in?
Sure, bring them on in.
Okay, I'll go get them.
Okay.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you so much. See how fast all that happens? You were amazing. Gosh, both of you. That was so, I think, I forget, what's your name?
Becky.
Becky.
Thanks,
Okay,
Becky.
when Becky said,
You want a bagel?
what did
You're good, thanks, I don't need them.
I don't either.
There's
So
some.
You really wanted one though.
Becky really keyed in with her right at that point about what do your kids, how did that feel to you? Did you feel heard by her when she said, what do your kids want to eat today?
That was the turning point.
Yeah.
But I got myself really worked up.
Oh, I know.
Do some deep breathing.
You do need to breathe right now. I mean,
I'm
breathe.
cool.
And I'll tell you what, my heart's going because it was like, wow, get out of my face.
I know.
And I was trying to be kind with you by trying to back up a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I stepped aside.
And you know what? I would have said different things. In fact, I was like saying, don't tell her about the policy right now. Don't say the policy. But she self-corrected off the policy and she keyed in about the kids. So anyway, that was really good. It can all happen really fast, can't it?
And that switch when, I mean, maybe the real person wouldn't have said, can I bring my kids in?
Oh, no, they do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
They do.
Or would have just brought
Yeah.
the kids in and not asked. But
Okay,
that was
so-
the point where I felt
We actually keep toys and crayons and coloring books and stuff in our office.
Okay,
That was
I
where I
want to
felt
move on.
acknowledged.
Thank you, everybody. I wanted to point out this one though, be curious. And Becky was curious about the kids and what they would like to eat. And I thought, why is she going there? Because she can't give her the food. But then I saw that she was going to help her find the resources. So, hey, it worked really well.
You were great, Becky.
Yep. Thank you so much, you guys. And so you saw, once she felt heard, and it all happened really fast, she was able to refocus on the problem. Okay? So that's the transition you're going to be aware of, and it all happens fast, from dealing with the feeling to dealing with the actual problem. So first, agree on what the problem is. So the kids needed food. Acknowledge the importance of their concern and help them find a solution. This was textbook, Becky. You did the whole
Very
thing.
good.
Ask what they think is a workable solution. So Becky jumped right in and knew what the workable solution was, because there are only so many solutions to that. But and then you're problem solving. So you're getting and giving information. You're going to help her make the phone call to get the food somewhere else, and in doing that, you're teaching her how to find resources herself. Agreeing on a course of action and offering choices and following through. So Becky wasn't going to drop that until she helped her. She wasn't going to send her out without giving her some sort of help and link to somebody else. So, special circumstances, irate phone callers. I'm going to kind of go through this a little quickly, but you can try silence during a rant, because the caller will eventually yield because they don't have anybody saying anything on the other end. Maintain a soft voice so they can hear you. I mean, they have to shut themselves down so they can hear you.
We actually talk quieter.
Yes, that's what that's about. Yeah, talk
We
quieter.
actually keep going down until
Yes.
they calm down.
Good strategy, because if they're yelling, they can't hear what you're saying, so they're going to have to be quieter too. Yep. Use your empathy phrases. Okay. You were planning on today, and now you have to wait. You don't say it that way, but sorry. Don't interrupt unless you do need to shut it down. I've had to do that sometimes. You know, I think we're going around in circles here, so I'd like to talk later when we're both able to finish this conversation. Will that be okay with you? What time works? Or something like ask how they'd like to have it resolved and provide options, collaborate, and stop the calling if the dialogue isn't working. Does anyone have any other pointers on the calls?
Make sure you don't give them too many options.
Right. Just roll out one or two.
Yeah.
It's like being a parent. You know, you give your kids a choice of the red shirt or the blue shirt. You know, both options are okay with you, so they get to choose. Yes?
Whether it's this or in-person situation, what is the appropriate point to say that's inappropriate? Maybe not say those words to them, but to say to yourself, I don't want to continue this conversation. How much in effect do you have to take, and at what point is it proper for you to sort of say that's enough?
You have to listen to your gut on that, and when you think that they're starting to repeat themselves, and you know, you'll know when it's time to shut it down.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a different response. I mean, different break point, so it's individual.
And what I've said, usually I'll use an I statement, and I'll say, so I won't say, and I know you weren't saying that's inappropriate, but I won't say, you know, you're being inappropriate, or that's not okay. I'll say, you know, I can't have a conversation with you or help you when I'm being yelled at. So I keep using I when I'm being yelled at, so that they don't feel blamed. I try not to use the word you at all. It's like, because they might feel a little attacked. So I just say, I can't talk when I'm being yelled at. I do want to finish this conversation with you, so I'm thinking, why don't we set up another time to talk? And so I slowly, just politely kind of shut them down. Sometimes you have to be more firm. But does that help?
Yeah, I think we're just in a society now where people either swear or use sort of violent actions, and I think sometimes the caring community tends to not defend itself so much as take on some of this stuff. And I guess I didn't know if there were thoughts or techniques that you had to sort of just put thoughts in people's minds in terms of when do you sort of say that's enough.
You don't deserve abuse, you shouldn't take abuse, and I think when you feel that it's turning into abuse or it's not getting anywhere, and I don't give them that much time, you know, a few minutes until I figure out what's going on, then I just start shutting the conversation down, but I do give them an idea of talking later. And then psychotic symptoms, which you talked about. You want to align with their delusional beliefs and then kind of be their advocate. You don't want to argue with them. Yeah, you all know this. You're all So, and just remember, everybody needs to feel heard before moving on, okay? That's kind of the key to this whole thing. So, yeah, it sounds as if you're having a bad day, you know? So you're going to be giving them empathic statements, and, you know, if someone's saying the man with them is giving them messages to get bagels or whatever, you could, and there isn't anyone with them, you could say, well, I can't hear him myself, but, and, you know, what kind of bagels does he want? Or, you know, so sort of get into that drama a little bit, but don't let it go too far. Yes?
I mean, as far as like language barriers and like suggestions on how to handle that when you can't.
Yeah. Language barriers are so hard. You mean what, like with refugees who come in? Yeah. I think you've got to do just showing and asking. Yeah.
There's also a resource that I know we have a sheet in the office that you can call and get a translator on speakerphone.
You know, and that is not that hard. I just used one in a counseling session. You call for an interpreter, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So if your organization has that ability to...
They also do sign language interpretation over a computer screen with Skype.
Yep.
The deaf interpreters are available through the State of Vermont Voc Rehab website, and the Agency of Human Services interpreter services is changing from the new global to telephonic, because we got some bad reports about global, and so they are definitely. I'm the LEP. I'm the Limited English proficiency representative for Three Squares Vermont. So my name's Amy Darley. Call me if you have problems or you want to contact me.
Can you give them your phone number, Amy?
My number, ready?
No.
Anyway, my email is easy. Amy.Darley, not Darlin, Darley, at vermont.gov.
Great, Amy, so you can fill them in on that. This is just the being aware, being self-aware, and then the last...
Spell out Vermont.
Yeah, vermont.gov, right.
Thank you.
If we had had time, I would go over with you, what do you all do to take care of yourselves? Do we have a minute? We don't have any minutes, so I'm just going to show you what I did. So, this is a list I threw together. Gratefulness practice is really great. Sometimes I'll just say, I was walking the other day for a while and I was just saying, I'm grateful for these shoes, I'm grateful for the trees, I'm grateful for Shelburne Farms, which is where I was. It can make you feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside, you know? And paying attention to yourself, to your breath, can really help. Just slowing ourselves down enough to pay attention. So that's a great list, and I want to give you your handout. So thank you. Do you want me to help you with that list? Yes, please.
Thank you, Myra.
Thank you for that.
Figured it out. I'm telling you, look at that. You're